So, I was reading something about the Salem witch trials in Massachusetts. This girl named Tabula. Hold on, what's her name? Teuba. Teuba. She was a Native American. So, hold on. I'm recording. Okay, so it's this oracle card that just came out. It's the African Goddess Rising Oracle. And I was thinking about getting it. So I was watching somebody doing a flip through. Just so y'all know, I have finished. Look, I just haven't been posting things because, I don't know why. It's a internal thing, but I'm working through it. I have already started on the design of my clothes. I just haven't posted the link. They already on the internet. They posted, but I'm actually working on the design um, to make it even better because I want it to be. So my homegirl, she like an artist, so she gonna help me out with it. Um, I finished what I said I was gonna do with the cards. Where the reverse meaning I flipped it around so when people pull the reverse, they don't have to flip the card around to read it. Thank you, Wyrd is the new black. She have a video where she used my cards. Matter of fact, let me link that video in the description. I should have been did that because this was a minute ago. I hope I could even find that video. But she used my cards, and I just was noticing that she had to flip it in order to read the definition, and I was like, oh no, I gotta fix that. So I did, and those are, you can find that in the link in the description. They posted. If you want to purchase them, you can. The oil, I didn't finish it. I even got the packages that I want to send them in. Um, I just haven't implemented yet, put it on Etsy and everything, because I'm still trying to like organize things and figure things out. I honestly was waiting to push things until I move, change locations, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and do it. So yeah. So anyways, I was looking at these cards to flip through, and it came across Tabula, and I don't know, that just caught my attention. So I was like, I want to look that up. I want to look who that is. So I was reading her story. So we're gonna go through it because it's quite interesting. And a lot of times when I'm reading things, especially historical things, I could feel it. I could have visuals of it. Um, like you could, it's just a understanding. Anyway, so I'm gonna read it to you and break it down at the same time. All right. Few corners of American history have been as exhaustively or insistently explored as the 9 months during which the Massachusetts Bay Colony grappled with Ardelia's witchcraft epidemic early in 1692. So early 1692, I was trying to find out the astrology of that. I hope that's out there. I'm gonna look that up later. Somebody doing astrology on the witch trials, because shit was really crazy at that time. Like, just imagine, like, you being there at that time, which I feel like I was. Um, but just imagine, like, it was so easy for you to be accused. That shit was really scary for people because it's like damn, if I sneeze wrong, these motherfuckers is gonna hang me. Like, you know, because even this girl's story is like, I'm like, damn, that's fucked up how they, because it's a lot to it. So I'm gonna break it down as I go along. And you know what? I'm gonna even get my cards because I want to pull the cards just to say, like, what the cards say. I'm curious. Hold on. All right, let's get back into it. Oh, y'all, my period started today. I like skipped a month. I ain't do that in a minute, so I was concerned, child. But the universe got my back, you know. Ooh, child. But you know that it's like my body working overtime just because I miss a month, and it's. Woo. I feel better though. I feel more at peace. Whatever that shit is called PMDD or whatever, it's when you have mood swings before your period and then you calm down once your period start. I feel like I have that shit because right before my period, I'm like intense as fuck. Like I'm like, ooh. But once my period start, I feel so much more at peace. It's like the craziest thing. Is there anything for that? Like, shit, because I can't stand that week. Sometimes even 2 weeks before my period. It's like, dun, dun, dun. And I'm like, somebody about to get slapped. So, anybody have any suggestions how to deal with those when your body is building up to the period and you have those chemical shit that's going on that make you moody, how to calm that, because at this point I just kind of try to ride the wave. I'm aware of it. You know, I'd be like, well, my period must about to start, so I'm moody. I'm moody, but I wish I ain't had the feeling, the intensity of it. If there's anything that could help with that except for weed, you know, I would really appreciate it because weed made me go deep into it. And, you know, yeah. Anyways, so early in 1692, several young girls began to read it and roar. They began to make loud noises, okay? They contorted violently. They complained of bites and pinches. They alternatively interrupted sermons and fell mute. Their throats choked, their limbs racked. An observer noted after some hesitation, after much discussion, they were declared to be bewitched. All right, let's look at these symptoms for a minute. They contorted violently. Kind of seemed like they might have been having a seizure. Bites and pinches. Something probably was attacking their nerves. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing like those nerves sippets or something. Something like restless leg syndrome or something. Um they fell mute, their throats choked, sounding like a seizure. You know what? I feel like it's a deficiency in something. Their limbs racked, whatever that means. I think that means that they locked up because I'm seeing girls on the ground, joints locking up. I think this was either something either in the water or some type of deficiency that they wasn't getting in the body, and it was causing nerve spasms. Oh, child, I'm sounding like a motherfucking doctor, but I'm seeing the visuals. And they choke. You know, you ever seen a person have a seizure and they choking? But let's go back. Several young girls begin at one time, or this was like over the course of some days. Because this could also be like some type of illness, but I feel like it's water. Something in the water. I had to double check if it was still recording. Pull the card on it. And thankfully it was. So I'm going to pull some cards on what was going on with these girls. If I get any cups, it's that damn water. Queen of Cups came out reverse. See what else? There's a lot of cards that came out. Devil in reverse. Eight of Swords. See, people, they was like too superstitious back then. You get what I'm saying? Like the church had them scared and paranoid. They wasn't good as in medicine, you know, and they was very spiritual at that time. Hold on, make sure I'm recording. Bro, I'm gonna be so mad if I ain't recording. Okay, yeah. They was very spiritual at that time, you know, but it's like their connection to it was wrong. Because of religion. If you go back into times where like Native Americans and stuff, they just kind of like lived off the land, uh, got in tune with the land, connected with it in a spiritual way, understand like nature is speaking to them in some type of way, you know. And this is something that I just came across yesterday when I was recording the one I posted. At one point in the recording, I was talking about the white birds in the tree. So later on, I went and researched that, and it was talking about what I was just talking about. Like I was researching, like seeing white birds and tree, like the spiritual meaning and stuff, and it was saying that to have patience, about what you're going through, and you know, spirit has your back, and they're gonna help you get through this, but you just have to have patience and believe in yourself. It was more detailed than that, that really connected to what I was saying before I even seen the birds. And I thought that was interesting. Like, but back in the day, Native Americans and stuff, they understood that. Like, everything is connected, everything is symbolism, everything is spiritual. But when religion was implemented, it told you not to just connect to the spirit, but it told you how to perceive it, how to think about it in a very limited way. And it created shit like this. Okay? Oof. Heart started beeping fast. Because shit like that be making me mad, man. And it's like really simple to see. And I don't understand why people don't see it sometimes. Because it's still happening today. And it's still problematic as fuck. But, you know, people just don't want to let it go because they don't believe in themselves. So, anyways, look at this. Lack of vision, inability to move forward. What goes around comes around. The past is catching up. I ain't gonna read this whole thing. Thief, embezzlement, mismanagement of funds. Yeah, something about this was very political as well. Like the water could have been poisoned. I see that there was some people who used this witch trial to get people murdered just because of business dealings and stuff like that for money. Not all the time. Sometimes it was your enemy. Like you just don't like somebody. You would claim that they are a witch. It was ugly. So in order to get people to believe it, they will make stuff happen. You get what I'm saying? Mm. Mm-mm-mm. I really feel like it has something to do. I got the Queen of Cups here. Signifies a selfish, destructive woman who seeks to manipulate and control you. She has unpredictable reaction, is cruel, seeks revenge, perverse, twisted, crafty, and dishonest, immoral. She uses people and then discard them. Do not trust her. So I feel like not only does it have to do with water, but all these cards point to something very political. Things that has been done on purpose. Okay? Let's continue. All right. Their symptoms spread initially within the community, ultimately, well, beyond its borders. In their distress, the girls cried out against those they believed enchanted them. They could see their tormentors perfectly. Ain't that something? Others follow suit. Mm. You know, some about this made me feel like some of it was fake. Like some people would just fall on the ground, start shaking, and some good ass actors, and then blame people. And what kind of proof is that? Imagine that. That's a scary motherfucking time. You like, yo, you got somebody who don't like you, and they just fall on the ground and start shaking and be like, "Oh, I see who doing this to me. I see it. It's them." And I'm like, bitch, bitch. I don't know. I feel like people be scared to do that shit to me. Cause I'm like, bruh, I ain't finna get hanged for you. So while you up here playing, some real shit gonna end up happening to your ass. Get the fuck on now. Alright, so others follow suit because they suffer the effects of witchcraft, or because they had observed it. Mm. Often decades in the past, by early spring it was established not only that witches flew freely about Massachusetts, but that a diabolical conspiracy was afoot. It threatened to topple the church and subvert the country. Okay, see, that also let me know this was political. Now, back then, church played a major world. Church played a major role in politics. Okay, so imagine you want to indoctrinate people because you want them to behave and act and believe in what you want them to believe. Now, to convince them to follow your religion, you will basically play like magic tricks or some shit on people in order to them to believe that concept. This shit still happens today. Like when you go and you, I'm not saying that they all fake or whatever. Everything is real. But I'm saying is, see, everything is real, but it's also practical. Okay? I guess people have to understand this world that we living in and how it is programmed. I swear I be seeing ones and zeros just all the fucking time. Like this shit is not even real. But our faith and our belief plays a major role in stuff that plays out. If you could get people to believe something wholeheartedly, and the more people that you could get it, the more real that concept becomes. So if you have like a voodoo priest and you want people to believe that you're powerful, then, and you don't, you're not naturally gifted or whatever like that, you want to scam people or some shit like that, you will what? Do magic tricks to get them to believe. I remember that because somebody had sent me a video. The person, it was from Africa or something, and these people promise to make you protect you from bullets and stuff like that. Like you could shoot yourself and the bullet would just ricochet off of you or something like that. And I was just noticing the setup. If I could find that video, I will show it if I could find it or link it. So now let me tell you what I noticed. First, the person who was selling this service, they was the one who was shooting themselves. They shot themselves in the mouth and then spit out the bullet. After they did the trick, they handshake the person who they was trying to convince, and they was like, "You convinced now?" And the person was like, "Yeah." So I'm guessing like after they seen this trick, they went and bought these services, feeling like it's gonna make them not able to get shot, or bullets just gonna bounce off of them. Now that's a few things. For me personally, you want me to believe this shit? First of all, why you shooting yourself in the mouth? Don't shoot yourself in no holes, no cavities where there could already be a bullet hitting in there. All right. Secondly, the way that the gunshot sounded, it didn't sound like a real gun. It sounded like it didn't sound real. It didn't look real to me or whatever. And yeah. And I was like, well, why don't you point at your head or your chest? It's always in some form a cavity where you could spit something out if you need to. And I guarantee that they use their gun. What if somebody brought their own gun and be like, well, use this gun? I bet you they won't use it, you know? Now, I'm not saying like shit like that don't exist for real. I'm just saying the shit that I laid my eyes on, that shit was fake, you know? But it convinced the person to buy that service. And that's really deceitful, ugly, and nasty. I really can't stand shit like that because that person could believe that they are protected and go out there and get killed. And that's fucked up. And they know that because why else they be trying to buy that service? Now, belief is powerful because I know somebody who got that service. They got it for a particular reason. Now, the universe protected their ass because whoever they was going after, they couldn't find them. So, they didn't even have to test it out to see if it worked. Anyways, by early spring, it was established not only that witches flew freely, okay, all right, read that. By the fall, somewhere between 144 and 185 witches and wizards had been named. 19 men and women had hanged. America's tiny reign of terror burned itself out by the late September. So this all happened in 1 year. I bet this is some Pluto shit, you know. Though it would endured allegorically for centuries. We dusted off whenever we overreached ideologically are persecuted over hesitantly. When prejudice rears its head, are man, oh my God, why they have to use like they just doing too much? Like just explain what you saying, bruh. Okay, rears its head, decency slips down the drain. When absolute oh my goodness, threatens to envelope us as often as we. So basically, what they're saying is that we go back into history to look at these moments in time when people are being judged harshly or too quickly or wrongly, like injustice or something like that, or out of fear or something. We go back into history and we look at this moment. So, as often as we revisit Salem on the page, on the stage, and on the screen, we have failed to unpack a crucial mystery at the center of the crisis. How did the epidemic gather such speed? How did it come to involve a satanic plot, a Massachusetts first? Okay, I didn't read this part yet. So they knew it was an epidemic. So it was people were sick. Okay. The answer to both questions lie in part with the unlikeness of suspects, the Indian slave at the heart of the Salem mystery. Enigma, enigmatic to begin, she has grown more elusive over the years. We know her only as Tituba. She belonged to, so I did read this part because I remember rereading this part because she was a Native American slave, and that was interesting to me. She belonged to Samuel Paris, the minister in whose household the witchcraft erupted. His daughter and niece were the first to convulse. Although she was officially charged with having practiced witchcraft on 4 Salem girls between January and March. We do not know precisely why Tituba was accused. You know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing that she was pregnant. Especially close to 9-year-old Betty Paris, she had worked and prayed alongside the family for years, for at least a decade in Boston and Salem. She took her meals with the girls beside whom she likely slept at night. Tituba may have sailed from Barbados in 1680 with Paris. Making sense. Making sense. Well, they said with Paris. They didn't say with the minister himself. Then still a bachelor and not yet a minister. Oh. Because when I thought they said with Paris, I mean, I thought they meant with the family. But no, she traveled with this minister. Mm-mm-mm. Though likely a South American Indian, her origins are unclear. South American? Mm. She could not have expected to be accused. New England witches were traditionally marginals, outliers, and deviants. Cancatoris, skulls, and oh my fucking god, bitch. Oh, basically they was known as the bottom of the bottom. Is that what they saying? Hold on. Oh no, they're not saying that. Um, cause right here they say they were not people of color. So people who used to get accused for being witches was white prominent people. Mm. People that I could see reasons, political reasons, why they would be attacked. Okay, Tabula, I know I'm fucking up her name, so my bad. Does not appear to have been complacent. That ain't that word. In an early attempt to identify the village witches. A superstitious experiment performed in the parsonage while the adult parishes were away. It infuriated the minister. She had never before appeared in court. At least some villagers assumed her to be the wife of a second parish slave, an Indian named John. English was clearly not her first language. To the question, "Why do you hurt these children?" Tituba responded, "I no hurt them at all." So the minister um didn't want this to happen. Like, why was he, or maybe he was upset because they was away when it started to happen. Okay, let's continue. She was presumably not a large woman. She would expect the Salem justices to believe that two other suspects had strong armed her into a high speed excursion through the air, while all held close to one another on a pole. She was the first in Salem to mention a flight. Hold up. She was presumably not a large woman. She would expect the Salem justices to believe that two other suspects had strong armed her into a high speed mm, through the air while all held close to one another on a pole. She was the first in Salem to mention a flight. Okay. Along with those women, Tituba came before the authorities in Salem Village on March 1st, 1692, to answer to witchcraft charges. The first two suspects denied all knowledge of sorcery. When Tituba met her interrogators that Tuesday morning, she stood before a packed, nervous meeting house. It was one in which she had prayed for the previous 3 years. She already been disposed in prison. The local authorities seemed to understand before she opened her mouth that she had a confession to offer. So she was in prison for 3 years. No other suspect would claim such attention. Multiple reporters sat poised to take down Tituba's words, and someone, presumably hard-edged 51-year-old John Hawthorne, the Salem town justice who handled the bulk of the early depositions, made a decision to interrogate her last. She began with a denial, one with which the court reporters barely bothered. Hawthorne had asked the first suspects whom they employed to hurt the girls. The question went to Yuba with a different spin. The devil came to me, she revealed, and bid me to serve him. As a slave, she could not so easily afford to sound a defiant note, and it was indisputably easier for her to admit she served a powerful man than it might have been for her fellow prisoners. Both white women in custody once scoffed that the word of a smooth-talking slave should carry no weight. She was right about the smooth-talking part, miserably wrong about the rest. Who was it, demanded Hawthorne, who tortured the poor girls? The devil, for all I know. Tituba rejoined before she began describing him to a hushed room. She introduced a full malevolent cast, their animal accomplices, and various superpowers, a sort of satanic, I don't know what that word is. She was masterful and gloriously persuasive. Only the day before, a tall, white-haired man in a dark serge coat had appeared. He traveled from Boston with his accomplices. He ordered Tituba to hurt the children. He would kill her if she did not. Mm. Had the man appeared to her in any other disguise, just put guise, but okay, asked Hawthorne, her to Yuba made clear that she must have been the life of the corn pounding, pea shelling Paris kitchen. She submitted a vivid, lurid, and hard, my yo, harebrained report. More than anyone else, she propelled America's infamous witch hunt forward, supplying its imagery and determining its shape. She has seen a hog, a great black hog, a red cat, a black cat, a yellow bird, and a hairy creature that walked on two legs. Another animal had turned up too. She did not know what it was called and found it difficult to describe, but it had wings and two legs and a head like a woman. Alright, so I feel like what she was doing is that she was missing um, stuff with the truth. I feel like she was telling the truth, but it was almost like, because I do feel like there's a woman evolved. And I did feel like this was political, and I felt like it was done on purpose. And this is what she's saying, but I felt like she had to tell people a more mystical story in order to believe her, because people were so convinced that it was witchcraft. So she made it into their version of witchcraft. It was still witchcraft even if she didn't dramatize it. But see, people, you know, they need the drama. So in order to believe. So I feel like she made it into that in order to get people to believe her story. But what I basically feel like she is saying is that she was forced into doing things that she didn't want to do because of political reasons. She might not have wanted to say the names of the people too, so that's why she made them into half human and animals. A canary accompanied her visitor. If she served the black-coated man, she would have the bird. She implicated her two fellow suspects. One had appeared only the night before with her cat, while the Paris family was at prayer. She had attempted to bargain with Tituba, stopping her ears so that Tituba could not hear the scripture. One had appeared only the night before with her cat. While the Paris family was at prayer, she had attempted to bargain with Tituba, stopping her ears so that she couldn't hear the scripture. She remained deaf for some time afterward. The creature she claimed to have so much trouble describing, and which she described vividly, was, she explained, Hawthorne's other suspect in disguise. They could have been in disguise. Doing some, probably some ritualistic shit. They probably was in disguise. She proved a brilliant raconteur, the more compelling for her simple declarative statements. The accent may have helped. She was as utterly clear-minded and cogent as one could be in describing translucent cats. And she was expensive. Hers is among the longest of all Salem testimonies, having fielded no fewer than 39 queries that Tuesday. Tituba proved equally over the next days. She admitted that she had pinched victims in several households. She delivered on every one of Hawthorne's leading questions. If he mentioned a book, she could describe it. If he inquired after the devil's disguises, she could provide them. While she was, this is a long story. While she was hauntingly specific, she was also gloriously vague. Yeah, I know, I'm actually getting the feeling that um well I've been getting the feeling it was staged, but I don't feel that Yuba is innocent. Get what I'm saying? I felt like she was put into this role for a reason, not just on a spiritual level, but also a political level, a 3D level. Indeed, she had glimpsed the diabolical book, but she could not say if it was large or small. The devil might have had white hair. Perhaps, I feel pull some cards. Oh, what is her, like, what was her role in this? Because a part of it could be, she was a woman that was approached by some powerful people in the community to kick off this witch trial, go around, make things happen. Um, but I don't feel like it was just the fact that she didn't feel like she could say no. I also feel like she wasn't just implemented in it, but she had a part to play in it, and the decisions of it um, might have even been paid. So, what was Tituba? And I definitely think she had a thing with that minister. Mm, devil card. Wait a minute. Ooh, child. Nah, she was not innocent. And I got the Queen of Cups again. Reverse. Page of Wands. Four of Pentacles reverse. Guard your possessions. Someone may try to separate you from the money. Yeah, I feel like she was paid. Two of Swords reverse. Creative or intellectual rut. Stagnation. Movement in the wrong direction. Your need for human interaction creates problem. Yeah, with this Two of Swords reverse and this Page of Wands, you know, this could be a really nice love story. There was a lot going on. I remember earlier mentioning like she pregnancy, but she was in prison for 2 years, so I wondered if she had any kids. But I really felt like this Queen of Cups is her. If it's not her, it's somebody that she was very closely associated with. My bad, y'all. It's a door near my window. Um, mm, very interesting. Very interesting. Because I feel like her and this minister, they might have been, I want to say love. There was but there was greed involved, manipulation, power plays, doing this to become more powerful. Hmm. All right, let's finish it. Um, While there were many marks in the book, she could not decipher names other than those of two women already under arrest. Mm. Yo, this shit, all of this shit was, damn. All this shit was created. And they put the blame on those two women that was already under arrest. Other confessors would not be so careful. Did she see the book? No. He not let me see, but he told me I should see them the next time. She assured Hawthorne. Could she at least say where the 9 lived? Yes, some in Boston, some here in this town, but he would not tell me who they were. She replied, this girl is smart. She hella smart. She knew what she was doing. She had signed her pact with the devil in blood, but was unclear as to how that was accomplished. God really figured, come on. Test and test. Okay. God barely figured in her testimony. Dang, this shit is long. At a certain point, she found that she could simply not continue. I am blind now. I cannot see, she wailed. The devil had encapsulated, encapsulated, encapsulated. I gotta go listen to that word. Her, cause what the word that is, I'm thinking about somebody having like their head cut off, but I don't think that's what she's saying. But um, it could also mean from the context clues somebody that limited her, forced her. Furious that Tituba liberally dispensed his secrets, there was every reason why the girls who had howled in wrath through the early hearings held stock still for that of an Indian slave. There was equal reason why Tituba afterward caused grown men to freeze in their tracks. Hours after her testimony, they trembled at strange and unusual beasts. Diaphanous creatures that mutated before their eyes and melted into the night. And she would herself undergo a number of strange and unusual transformations with the assistance of some of America's foremost historians and men of letters. Confessions to witchcraft were rare, convincing, satisfying, and the most they fucking me up with these words, bruh. Kaleidoscopically colorful of the century. Tituba's changed everything. It assured the authorities they were on the right track, doubling the number of suspects. It stressed the urgency of the investigation. It introduced a dangerous recruiter into the proceedings. It encouraged the authorities to arrest additional suspects. A satanic conspiracy was afoot. Tituba had been something of which every villager had heard and which all believed, an actual pact with the devil. She had conversed with Satan, but had, and I believe she know when she say that she made a deal with the devil, she talking about a man in the community, somebody in a position of power. She had conversed with Satan, but had also resisted some of his entreaties. And I believe this was clever. This girl is smart as fuck. It was clever because she, I feel like she made deals with people in position of power. Now, she wasn't going to take the heat for it. So she made it into like a mystical story, which they could have been doing rituals and shit like that, but she made it where she could still remain vague. She didn't have to tell all their business. She could only tell enough, and she could claim to not remember anything else or wasn't told those other things. Now people, because they hella superstitious, they scared of her because they, the way that they perceive the devil, the way that they perceive religion made them fear her. Even though they might not really, they didn't even really have a reason to. The only thing to really fear was her intelligence, because she's smart as fuck and creative. Resisted some of his entreaties. She wished she had held him off entirely. She talking about a person. I feel like she had a dealing with this dude. Like they was in a relationship and they was trying to get that bag, and they created this plan, and he was supposed to help her get into a position of power too, but instead he probably threw her under the bus. So she like, man, I wish I ain't never fuck with his ass, cause he a bitch ass nigga. Alright, so she was depreciated and cooperative. All would have turned out very differently had she been less accommodating. She probably was accommodating because she was a woman scorned. And she was like, you know what? I ain't taking a fall from this. I'm going to turn this shit around. And she did that. She did that shit. Portions of her March account would soon fall away. The tall, white-haired man from Boston will be replaced by a short, dark-haired man from Maine. If she had a corporate in mind, we would never know who it was. Her 9 conspirators soon became 23 or 24, then 40, later 100, ultimately an eye-popping 500. According to one source, Tituba would retract every word of her sensational confession. They must have offered her a really good deal. The people who were scared that she was gonna like speak their name, and to which she claimed her master had bullied her. By that time, arrests had spread across eastern Massachusetts on the strength of her March story. However, one pious woman would not concede witchcraft was at work. How would she say as much? She was asked, given Tituba's confession. The woman hanged, denying, as did every 1692 victim, any part of sorcery to the end. All agreed of the primacy, whatever, Tituba's role, and thus wrote a minister of her hypnotic account. Was this matter driven on? Her revelations went viral, and oral culture in many ways resembles an internet one. Once she had testified, diabolical books and witches' meetings, flights, and familiars were everywhere. Oh, she created all of this. I don't fuck with the fact that she killed innocent people though. Others among, she probably felt guilty, and that's why she recanted her story. I think it was money too. Others among the accused adopted her imagery, some slavishly. It is easier to borrow than invent a good story. One confessor changed her account to bring it closer in line with Tituba's. There would be less consensus afterward, particularly when it came to Tabula's identity. Described as Indian no fewer than 15 times in the court papers, she went on to shift shape. Why you just can't say shape shift like everybody else? Shift shape herself, as scholars have noted, falling prey to a multi-century game of telephone. Tituba evolved over 2 centuries from Indian to half black to black, with assist from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who seemed to have plucked her from Macbeth. Historian George Bancroft and William Carlos Williams, without his middle name, he would be William Williams. I kind of like it. By the time Arthur Miller wrote The Crucible in 1952, Tituba was a Negro slave. She engaged in a different brand of dark arts. To go with her new heritage, Miller supplied a live frog, a kettle, and chicken blood. He has Tituba sang her West Indian songs over a fire in the forest as naked girls dance around, sounding like a distant cousin of Mammy and Gone with the Wind. Mm. She says things like, Mr. Reverend, I do believe somebody else bewitching these children. The whole accent even changed. She went from sounding like she was from a different country to sounding like a southerner. She is last seen in a moonlit prison sounding half crazed, begging the devil to carry her home to Barbados. So nobody know what happened to her afterwards. After the Crucible, she would be known for her voodoo, of which there is not a shred of evidence, rather than her psychedelic confection, which endures on paper. While the retrofitted racial identity, arguably bias, played a role, a black woman at the center of the story made more sense. In the same way that as Tituba saw it, a man in black belonged at the center of the diabolical conspiracy. Her history was written by men working when African voodoo was more electrifying than outmoded English witchcraft. All wrote after the Civil War, when a slave was understood to be black. Miller believed Tituba had actively engaged in devil worship. He read her confession in the 20th century sources at face value. By replacing the Salem justices as the villain of the piece, Tituba as so oh my God, as so narrated others, the Massachusetts elite most of all. I'm gonna look up that word later. Okay, in her testimony and afterlife, misconceptions neatly shape the tale. Tituba delivered on Hawthorne's leads as she knew her scripture well. Her details tallied unerringly with the reports of the bewitched. Moreover, her account never wavered, and it was thought that if she had feigned something, whatever her confession, she could not have remembered her answer so exactly. All right, come on, come on. All right. Basically, they're saying that if she had made it up, she would not have been able to remember her answer so exactly. Um, I don't think she made up her story, but I do think that she purposely made some of it vague. She made it more mystical, more intriguing, and she successfully took the heat off of her. So, she could not have remembered her answers, blah, blah, blah. An observer explained later. A liar, it was understood, needed a better memory. It seems the opposite is true. The liar sidesteps all inconsistencies. The truth teller rarely tells his story the same way twice. Wait. It seems the opposite is true. The liar sidesteps all inconsistencies. The truth teller rarely tells his story the same way twice with the right technique. You can pry answers out of anyone, though what you... Hold up, come on now. You can pry answers out of anyone, though what you extract won't necessarily be factual answers. Before an authority figure, a suggestible witness will reliably deliver plenty of preposterous memories. In the longest criminal trial in American history, the California child abuse cases of 1980s, children swore that daycare workers slaughtered elephants. Tituba's details too grew more and more lush with each retelling, as forced confessions will. I do feel like it was forced confessions because she had to tell a story. She knew that. She was very smart. Whether she was coerced or whether she willingly collaborated, she gave her interrogators what she knew they wanted. Exactly. One gets the sense of a servant taking her cues, dutifully assuming a prescriptive role, telling her master precisely what he wants to hear, as she has from the time of Shakespeare or something else. If the spectral cats and diabolical compacts sound quaint and trample up, hysteria remains. Hold on, y'all. I had to start a new clip. This is a long story, my goodness. We are no less given a adrenalized overreactions, all the more easily transmitted with the click of a mouse. A 17th century New Englander had reason for anxiety on many accounts. He battled these particular set of Indians, encroaching neighbors, a deep spiritual insecurity. He felt physically, politically, morally besieged. And once an ideal or an identity seeps into the groundwater, it is difficult to rinse out. The memory is And bruh, I'm about to skip words that is too much for me. Cause my mouth is already tired. Okay? It's not that I don't know the word, it's more so that like I have a country accent and it's hard for me to pronunciate certain words. So it's kind of like a bit of a speech impediment. So, as would be the moral stain, we too deal in runaway accusations and point fingers in the wrong direction, as we have done after the Boston Marathon bombing or the 2012 University of Virginia rape case. We continue to favor the outlandish explanation over the simple one. Yeah, we are more readily deceived by a great deception, by a hairy creature with wings and a female face, than a modest one. Yeah. When computers go down, it seems far more likely that they are hacked by a group of conspirators than they simultaneously malfunction. A jet vanishes. It is more possible that it was secreted away by a Middle Eastern country than that it might be sitting in fragments on the ocean floor. We like to lose ourselves in the cause to ground our private hurts and public outrage. We do not like for others to refute our beliefs any more than we like for them to deny our hallucinations. Having introduced flights and familiars into proceedings, having delivered a tale that could not be unthought, Tituba was neither again questioned nor so much as named. She finally went on trial for having covenant with the devil on May 9th, 1693, after 15 harrowing months in prison, which probably was absolutely horrible, especially back then. The jury declined to indict her, the first to confess to signing a diabolical pact. She will be the last suspect released. She appears to have left Massachusetts with whoever paid for her. Oh, told you. With whoever paid her jail fees. It is unlikely she ever saw the Paris family again. After 1692, no one again attended to her every word. She disappeared from the record, though did escape with her life. Unlike the women she named as her confederates that March Tuesday, Tituba suffered only the indignity of the wrapped afterlife for reasons she might have appreciated. It made for a better story. Period. Mm. So, yeah. Stay blessed, y'all.